ألا من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه، اللهم وال من والاه وعاد من عاداه.
My name is Gina. I was born in Dearborn, Michigan. My parents are Sicilian. They're from Sicily. Their family is from Sicily. They were born here in the U.S. They migrated here for work in the factories. Everybody came to the U.S. and Dearborn to work for Ford and Chrysler. My parents are Catholic, and they always believed in being conservative, and they were very strict about no boys, no talking to boys. I have 3 older brothers, and they never agreed with talking or dating or any of that kind of stuff. So I kind of had a sheltered life where I was used to always, I'm the only girl, the youngest, and so I was used to always being like taken care of by my brothers and my parents and stuff. And they never pushed religion on us, they never pushed church or anything on us, but they were always open to different ideas, you know, like that. I was used to it. It didn't bother me, but then I would be mad when I was a kid growing up and my friends could go out and stay out late and I had to be home all the time or be home at a certain time. I was never allowed to go freely out, and like I never really had any American friends, like American, you know, like white friends. Right now my friends are Muslim, you know, from growing up. I think I was always attracted to them because they kind of had a similar life like me, and I wasn't allowed to go out, and they kind of weren't either, so we had a lot of similarities. And my mom liked the relationship between that because she always would never have to worry about my friends because they were always like good, you know, girls and stuff. So growing up, yeah, my mom, she was forced by her parents to go to Catholic school and do all that stuff, and she hated it. So she said, I would never force my kids to follow that way, but she was always, you know, very honest, and you have to do everything the right way, and you have to be good, and, you know, so she had she followed it, but she didn't push it on us. So it didn't, if somebody would ask me, what's your religion growing up, we're Catholic, you know. We go to church on, you know, during Christmas time and Easter and stuff, and as we got older, my parents never really took us to church. Like, I would go with my grandmother and stuff, who was very, like, you know, we're Catholic Italians, you know. So growing up, that was my I guess I would say, until I got older and could think more for myself, that was what I would say. I made friends with a girl when I was growing up, and I would always see her mom praying. And I would always ask her, like, why do you pray like that? Why you have to do so much to talk to God? Why is it such, like, steps? So she's like, if you're really interested, I'm going to give you something to read. And when I was younger, the internet was kind of new, so it wasn't like you can get all your information there. So she gave me a ton of books to read. And I would finish one, and I would want another one, and another one, and another one. So I just became so attracted to Islam at such a young age. And I would tell my mom, and she's like, she would always encourage it. Because when I was born, there's a small story behind that. When I was born, I was crippled. My legs were crippled. And my mom she made a novena, which is like a dua. And she told God, if you can let my daughter be normal, that, I'm going to cry, that I'll push her, you know, to become religious. My mom made a novena, which is a dua, and she asked God, if you can make my daughter normal, I'll push her to become religious. I'll support her. And she's my biggest supporter, because as I grew up and I learned more about the religion, and I was so annoying to them because I would tell my parents, why aren't you Muslim, and why aren't you, you know, why don't you practice this way? And I started learning about Catholicism more and more, and it would make me like, it's so contradictory, the things that you would understand in Christianity. And my mom, she's like, you know, what can I say? I'm Christian. She doesn't want to, you know, disagree. But she would never argue with me, and she would never fight with me about it. She would, you know, I'm happy that you're religious. I'm happy for you about this thing. It became something, you know, when you start having an attraction for something and you're like in love with something, you want to know more about it. And you want to know more and more and more. And it makes you like excited to finish that and then learn different things. And she would give me different books, you know, about the Sunni, about the Shia and stuff. And so I would learn different things. And she's like, when you're done, all you have to do is read the Quran. It's, you know, the Quran is a little challenging to read, you know, because it's so I read that. And when I was 18, I told my mom, I said, I want to be Muslim. And she's like, good, I'm happy for you. Because I've heard horror stories of parents throwing their children out in the street. But she was very pleased. And she's like, that's good. She's like, are you going to wear a scarf? I told her, I'll wear a scarf after I get married. So I got married when I was 21, and my husband was Sunni. And at the time, I didn't know exactly the difference until I got married and into a Sunni family. And I was always Shia because I always loved the Al-Bait, learning about it. I didn't understand how anybody can follow different ideas and stuff. And I got divorced when I was 25. And I put on a scarf like a month after I got married. And my idea behind the scarf was, when you get married, you should put a scarf as early as possible. But to myself, I thought when you get married, you should cover for your husband, you're for God, and that's, that was it. And she was very pleased that I put on a scarf, and she's like, it's like you're a nun, but you can be a married nun. So she was really excited for that. They were always conservative, so this was very appealing to them. And my father, when I had got divorced, he said, I never have to worry about you because you wear a scarf and you're Muslim. You're never going to go out and drink. You're never going to go out and talk to men. You're never going to, do something because you limit yourself and you stop yourself from these things. I knew, I always was attracted with Islam. And when I graduated high school, I was more of an adult, and I thought, this is the right time. I'm going to be Muslim. But I really felt like I wasn't a true Muslim until I put a scarf on. But before I put a scarf on, I used to, it was like a month before, it was a month after I got married when I put a scarf on. So during that time, I would have dreams every night. I was having this dream that there was a woman coming to me in my dream, and she was wearing all black, and she was wearing a scarf, and she had a book in her hand, and she had a scarf in her left hand. So every night I would wake up to her, and she would put the scarf, throw the scarf at me. Every night. So I called the Sayyid, and I'm like, who is this woman in my dream? And he's like, this is Sayyidina Zainab. He's like, you're so lucky. I'm like, well, why is she coming? He's like, she's blessing you. She's telling you have to wear your scarf. So I woke up that day, and I told my husband, I said, that's it, I'm putting a scarf on tomorrow, tonight, right now. It was 3 in the morning. I woke up, and he's like, you're going to wear a scarf today? I'm like, that's it. I started going through my closet. I'm like, I have to wear a scarf today. I have to start being, if you're a Muslim, you have to be 100% Muslim. So to me, wearing the scarf was, that was, you're not Muslim until you do everything correctly. So to me, that was, the turning point for me, really. I was 21, so that was the major move. I was 18 when I said that I'm going to be Muslim. I said my Shahada, but when I put the scarf, I feel like it changed my life completely for the better. My mother used to take me every week I would have to go see the doctor. They put steel braces on my legs, and they were wrapped in casts. So I had to get a new cast every week, and I had to wear backward shoes because instead of my legs being like this, they were like this. So my mom was horrified when she saw that, and right then and there she made a dua to God, and she told him, please fix her. And so every day to straighten out the legs, they had to literally break the leg and put a steel bar, wrap it, and every week it was like that for about 2.5 years. Every week, and she's like, I would scream, and it would be very painful, but she was determined to make me have a normal life. And she said because she feels really strongly that because she asked God for that favor, that God blessed her with a daughter who was on straight, did everything the straight way. She's my best friend. My mother is my biggest supporter. We were always so close, and she's always, the one to say, I'm happy for you. You want to be Muslim? I'm happy for you. You want to put a scarf? And the first day, when I wore a scarf, a week later I went with her on vacation to visit my brother out of the state. And we were in New Mexico, and some Indian man, Native American man, came up to me, and she thought he was going to say something bad to me. So we were in the store, and she ran from another corner of the store, and she's like, what are you saying about my daughter? Yeah, she's Muslim, and she's happy, and she's proud. And he's like, I was going to compliment her on her scarf. That's it. So she's always, anybody that would ask her, did her husband force her, or did somebody force her, she's very defensive because she's very proud of that thing, her daughter's doing something good, So she's so amazing. to have such a blessing. My father asked me in the beginning, he's like, is this really what you want? Is Muhammad, my ex-husband, is he asking you to do this? Like, you know, what's going on? Are you sure? I'm like, no, I'm happy. This is what I want. He's like, if you're happy, I'm happy. You know, if this is something you like, I'm more happy for you. In the beginning, I felt kind of uncomfortable with the situation because, like, you know, I felt like everybody was staring at me when I put my scarf on. Everybody was always staring, but it was myself that I wasn't comfortable with myself yet. But after putting it on, it's a life-changing thing because my brothers are, I have 3 older brothers. They're all educated and they're very, my brother is a professor and he's very, you know, he shows his students pictures of me. I sent him pictures when I was in the Hajj and he shows it to his students, and he's in St. Louis, Missouri, which is just, you know, Midtown America, all American white people and stuff. And he shows them, this is my sister. Have you ever seen a Muslim? He asked them. They say, no, this is my sister. And they're like, no way, you know, that's not her. And, you know, why would she do that? You know, so they're very, in the beginning, they were kind of like shy about it, shy around me. But no, they're very supportive. And she said, you know, I'm not going to pressure you. She's like, as long as you're Muslim, that's it. She goes, but let me give you some education on both sides. You know, you can kind of see the difference. I had like some hadith books like Muslim and Bukhari and stuff like that. And it's, I wasn't convinced enough with the Sunnis. You know, they had, the Shia, I felt like we have so much more. As Shia, we have, you know, we have our hadiths, we have our dua, we have our imamat, we have so much that they're lacking, you know. And I feel like us as Shia, we're very forward, we're very educated, we want to know everything. So I feel like this is more something that I want to follow. This school of thought is more positive than anything else. I feel like they're such perfect examples of Muslims. They're so infallible. What better examples of people do we have? Nobody is. What better role models do we have? You know, one of my friends, she always told me, what would the Ahlul Bayt do? You know, when my friend Rima would tell me, what would the Ahlul Bayt do? If you're doing something wrong or you're doing something bad, you have to think of that first, you know, because they're such amazing people, so perfect and so holy in every way. What would they do? How embarrassed would you be when you have to see them when you die? How embarrassed, you know, when they gave you that example to follow, how embarrassed on your day of judgment are you going to be if you didn't follow them the correct way and you went and did something wrong? You know, in the end, you have to face for everything that you've done. So by having the Ahlul Bayt as your example, you will live a straight. I really honestly feel you'll live a straight life if you follow them. I feel like after I got divorced, that I became more religious. I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the Hajj this year. It was the year after I got divorced, or I was just recently divorced. And I said, this is the year I'm going to the Hajj. This is the year I'm going to start my life. When I go to the Hajj, I'm going to start my life. Alhamdulillah, like I feel like since I went to the Hajj, I went with my group, which is, we were Shia, and I experienced everything in the Hajj and the discrimination against the Shia. Because in America, you know, in Dearborn, you don't have discrimination. People are used to the scarf and, you know, the Shia, and it's fine. When you go to different countries, you see the discrimination. You see the hate that people have for the Ahlul Bayt, and it makes you more go forward. Because the love you have in your heart for Ahlul Bayt, all you can do is smile at the people that hate them. Because this is something that makes you better. You feel like more positive about that thing. Actually, yesterday when I was at my office, a gentleman came in. We had like an office barbecue to invite other people over. And this gentleman, he said, you know, do you really pray 5 times a day? Why do you do that? I said, what religion are you? And he's like, well, you know, I don't really have a religion. I said, do you know everybody was born Muslim? Everybody. I said, and it's their parents that changed them. I go, but you have a responsibility to yourself to go back. I said, why don't you go tomorrow to the prayer? You'll be amazed, you know, the amount of, and you'll learn, you know, if you sit and you listen to the lecture, it's very interesting. And he just kept asking me questions, and I was like, I felt so happy to answer them. Anybody that, like my mom, she asked me, why are you Shia? What's the difference? This and that, you know, and I think I'm slowly converting her, you know, I'm just slowly picking away at her. But I love to talk to people about it because people, I was sitting with my friend, she doesn't wear a scarf, and she told him, do you know she's not even Arab? And he's like, what? I said, yeah, Muslim has no color. You know, if you're a Muslim, you are equal to God. You have no color, you have no, nationality. You're just a servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what's important. You know, when I went to Hajj, I was amazed to see the people from Poland and Ireland and, the countries that you don't expect, Mexico and Spain. And it's amazing when you actually see them all together. And I think that's why you want to preach to other people, because people, they say Muslim and they think like, tan skin or olive skin, brown skin. They don't see all the different types of Muslims. And once you actually see it for yourself, you want to tell other people. It's like you want to spread the good news, about Islam, because it's so good for everyone. And I really feel that if everyone, becomes Muslim, or it would be a much more peaceful world that we would live in. There's always been people that give you dirty looks or things like that, but my opinion is just to smile at them. And I think when they see that you're friendly and you're nice, I've never actually had somebody say, you're a terrorist, or you're dirty Muslim or something. I've never had that. I've heard stories, but I've never personally, because I guess I always walk around with a positive attitude and a smile and stuff. And I think when other people see that, they want to approach you. Where I've actually gotten more compliments from little old ladies. I was in Miami a few weeks ago, and a little old Spanish woman came up to me and she goes, I'm so pleased with how you dress. I'm so happy. She goes, I'm Catholic and I love this, I love the modesty. So I've actually gotten more compliments than mean talks or anything. And even, outside of Dearborn, inside of Dearborn, it's never been, for myself, alhamdulillah, it's never been a problem. Everybody's always been very nice to me. I've never, even in the airports, and I've never gotten, they've never given me a hard time. So I'm happy about that thing. And I'm in college right now, and I'm doing Arab cultural studies, so I want to work in immigration and translation. And that is my goal, is to graduate college. And then I went to the Hajj already. Inshallah, I'd love to go many more times. But actually, I made some friends with our group in Hajj. We have everybody that went to Hajj, we were all strangers. We all came together. Now there's a group of us that we're like family. We're very close. And we sat down one day when we were in the Hajj and we were talking, and we said we have to go do ziyarah together, all of us. We have to do ziyarah. So inshallah next year we want to do ziyarah together in Iraq and go to Iran. And that's something I wish, inshallah, I can do that next year, the year after, with my family, because my Hajj family, because that's my biggest goal. I think all my goals really, besides education, are religious. I'd love to see all the religious sites and get to do things like that. I think that as a Shia, I think that because in the beginning I didn't say, oh, I'm Sunni or I'm Shia, until after I put a scarf. I said, no, I want to be Shia. But in the beginning, I used to go to a Sunni majma, and they were very nice. They were nice, but I feel as a Shia, they're more welcoming. They're more, excited for you, because I became friends with the Sayyid at the mosque, at the, Sayyid Khuzwini, and I felt the most welcoming, because I think they're excited to hear the stories, and they're pleased with that, and very nice. Everybody has always been very nice, and a lot of people are shy, they feel like maybe they don't have, I have no one in my family that's Muslim. So they feel like they don't have that family to go to the majma with, or that family to go pray with and stuff. But I feel like when you start yourself going and you make your friends that this is your family, the community is your family. So this is, they've always been, I feel like the Shia community has been very, very welcoming, very excited and very happy with this conversion.